Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Trauma Translator. I'm Lauren Friedman, your host, and today I'm going to be talking about the mantra moment and just a little bit of background about the Trauma Translator. So you may notice that the Trauma Translator has been a little disjointed over the last few weeks, and that's my fault. It's an attribute of healing, and it's just been life and lives. So over the last few weeks, things got a little bit crazier in my life as I've been trying to resolve a 20-year problem, but really a 40-year problem. And the Trauma Translator is really focused on helping people biohack and embodied comeback and really change your life through the art and science of connection. And not every day is a winning day. I lost my last week, and I lost it publicly. And that's the true meaning of healing, is being able to get yourself out of a dysregulated state and back into a state of rest and digest, back into a parasympathetic state, right? Because it's not reasonable to think that there's any way of being calm all the time and not having any reactions to things. That's not how humanity works, right? And we're talking about humans here. And humans have feelings, humans have needs, humans have emotions, humans have ways that they need to communicate. And if they don't have the ability to affect change and other people around them also aren't doing that, then how can you change your life? Well, one of the ways I've learned through all of this, and one of the reasons I've been doing this, is really to help people get through those really hard times. I've had a lifetime of those hard times. And while I've been in therapy since I was 5, and both my parents were therapists, and I'm a walking picture of complex trauma. Like, I broke my arm 6 times as a kid, 7 times. I don't even know. I lost count. I've lost and gained over 100 pounds multiple times. I have so many somatic, meaning in your body, responses to trauma, which is just stress that overwhelms your ability to cope. But that looks different for everybody. So the Trauma Translator, my focus is taking abstract and complex ideas and making them palatable across varying levels of audiences and understanding, like I did in tech for the last 20 years, and really humanizing stories through my own experiences, the experience of others, the guests that will be on my show, and also finding ways to get through those really tough times, because it is brutal when you feel all alone in this world. And I have felt the most alone my whole life. That's why it's called the Why Go Project. It's inspired by Pearl Jam's Why Go song. Maybe someday another child won't feel as alone. And originally that was my goal, to make this a pediatric complex trauma nonprofit. And then when I lost my job for the 6th time with my whole team in June of 23, I had to expand that out to humans and try to figure out how to make a for-profit company, that also intersects with the nonprofit. So the Why Go Project, truly at an overarching enterprise level, is the art and science of connection. And that's what the Trauma Translator is here to do, is to help you find connection to yourself, connection to others, connection to a higher power. And again, like I mentioned, that's not in every day. These things aren't going to work. That's why you need a toolbox of resources. That's what I call How Are You Healing Habits. And as I mentioned last week, I did in fact trademark How Are You Healing in honor of both of my parents, Howard and Elaine, who spent their lives trying to help others find healing, but never finding any healing themselves. And that's because the global world had no idea what trauma was. And trauma gets like a really bad rap around the world. Like, everyone's like, I don't have trauma. I don't want to be associated with that. But the reality is, it's just stress that overwhelms your ability to cope. And because that looks different for everybody, everyone's trauma responses look different. And over the last week, I hit a wall. I mean, I hit a wall a long time ago. My therapist knew I hit a wall like earlier in the week before. She gave me, like, not joking, like a couple hundred dollars of free therapy, because she's at a network and I'm on, ACA insurance right now. And in my last corporate job, I had really good out of network coverage, but anywhere else that I've been previously in the startup world, I had really high deductibles, really high premiums. And that's really barriers to entry for a lot of people, even myself, who believes in the power of therapy, had been in therapy my whole life. But I realized through all of this why traditional therapy doesn't work, quote unquote, doesn't work, why it's not affecting change in your life, why you still feel stuck. And it's because it doesn't address the embodiment portion of this. It doesn't address how we can get into our bodies and out of our heads, because the logical part of our minds don't necessarily integrate with our bodies. So you could logically feel safe, but your body might not feel safe. So when I first learned in 2022 how to get into my body, it was through mantras. Mantras were something that truly changed my life. And, the things that used to make me feel really sick and nauseous and, in pain in all the different ways, with the practice of mantras on a regular basis have helped me get through those really, really tough, hard times. So some of the mantras I've now recreated on my show for my brand is called the Mantra Moment. It's called the Mantra Moment, and it's on the Merch with a Perp shop on ygoproject.com. So I've been carrying around what I call the Mantra Moment water bottle. This isn't the original one. The original one I left in a taxi. I left in a taxi on September 17th. It was a Monday. I was going to a new yoga studio because I needed to find a new way to calm my body, and I hadn't been able to get to my regular practice earlier in the week, or the Sunday, the day before. So I went to a new studio, and a series of unfortunate events happened. That's also one of the names I've considered using for the Lauren Friedman experience. So I Go Project, to explain the story, just a series of unfortunate events, which everyone can relate to. These are things that sometimes happen and that are beyond our control. And what do we do when we're faced with these moments that we don't know how to handle? And we sometimes don't even realize that we don't know how to handle, because I personally have been told by so many people over my life, you always show up for yourself. I have a memory from under the age of 2, and most people lose their memory with this quote unquote amount of trauma, but I have retained all of the memories. So, when I think about how I've evolved over all these years, I go back to those moments where I've been told by friends that were telling me for 20 years, get out of your marriage, get out of the relationship. You're unhappy. This isn't working for you. You always show up for yourself. You don't need the support. You don't need his family. You don't need all the perceived safety. And I didn't understand that I always showed up for myself. I had to embody it, right? I was like, yeah, you're right. I do show up for myself. But what does that mean? So as I've been on this healing journey, I realized that those mantras really are powerful. They could, how you speak to yourself matters. How you internalize things in your body matters. So when you have the ability to change neural pathways through neuroplasticity, and you can find all of this on bygoproject.com, dysfunction junction dictionary, all the definitions for these things. You have the ability to change you could actually biohack your own body, and you could get better in time. You could reverse illness. You could prevent illness, and you could actually find sanity. And I lost my shit over the last few weeks publicly. And it is what it is. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But the idea of trying to find new ways to solve for old problems that sometimes look like new problems is really the true meaning of healing. And that's the purpose here of the Trauma Translator Live, the podcast, Trauma Translator speaking events, one-on-one, how are you healing consulting, all the things I'm trying to do and that I am doing to help others move forward through really hard times has to do with the central thesis of you can change your life through the power of connection, the art and science of connection. And the first step in doing that is to connect with yourself. And, I took a yin yoga class. I've been taking it since 2022 every Sunday. And there was my original teacher in the class had a practice of starting each class with a mantra, and the mantras were different every week. But words are something that I love. I speak different languages. I love words. That's why I got into advertising to begin with. I've been a writer my whole life, but as a walking contradiction that I am, I also am unable to read my handwriting. And that all goes back to unprocessed complex trauma and trauma responses. But sometimes we internalize those things. So the idea of mantra moments to get you out of your head and into your body is a way to simplify the idea of how do you get into your body? What the F does that mean? When I first started this journey, people were like, get into your body. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And when I learned about mantras, which I've been using all these years, not intentionally, right? You could do things without understanding why, but I'd been using these mantras my whole life without realizing it. I'd been decorating my apartment with all these different inspiring signs. I knew I was going to need support when I left my husband in 2018 and I moved to this building, and I needed all these different ways to feel better because I knew it was going to be hard. But I didn't know that eventually, within 6 months of that, I was also going to lose my mom, who really didn't ever show up for me as a parent, quite honestly, and left me with more problems than I could ever imagine. And it didn't all have to do with money at the time. I was going to lose my sibling. That broke my heart. So all of the things that I've already using, right? I was already using mantra moments, but not with intention. So when I think about the mantra moments that I put on my water bottle before I started to get well, and find, safety in my body and find some type of healing, I think about them differently now. And my old water bottle represented the old me. It was nobody cares, work harder, and all the different things that made that like pushed me forward, right? It allowed me to have an ability to change my life in some way, but it also kept me full of rage. And I don't need other things keeping me full of rage. So when I think about the mantras nowadays, I'm happy that water bottle, the original one, got lost. People would stop me in the middle of the street and ask about it. But the new water bottle, which does have all of the stickers, not all of them, but a lot of the stickers from mantra moments from Merch with a Perp, is the way that I have been able to get through things these days. And the mantra moment that I want to focus on today is I always show up for myself. And I was realizing this yesterday, as I always do. And this week has been incredibly hard. Today's only Thursday, but like by Tuesday morning, I had like 84 weeks already. And I had to go to an event on Tuesday afternoon, and I knew I couldn't be dysregulated. I didn't want to be dysregulated. I don't want to feel that way. It's not good, right? It's not good for your body. It's not good for your mental health to have all that rage. And I know I always show up for myself, but I couldn't figure out how to get out of that moment, right? All my mantra moments, all my how are you healing habits, every single thing didn't work at the time. Like I was still so angry, and it was very visible. And I finally asked for support in a real way. I thought that I was asking for support my whole life, when I would beg people for support, and I would say it like so politely and so in such a mild way that no one ever gave me the support that I needed. And now I was like, I need help. Please help me. And people showed up for me, like people that I didn't expect, people that I just met within the last 6 months showed up for me. There are people that I just met within the last 5 months that showed up for me. I'm so grateful for that. So while you can show up for yourself, you could also still ask for support. They're not mutually exclusive ideas. And the thing that I really want to share here today is how I've been able to show up for myself, because quite honestly, any other person in this position would have taken their own life already. Like it's been brutal, especially with my family history. And that's why I want to explain this as well, because I have lost coworkers to suicide, or I don't know what we're allowed to say these days across platforms, but I've lost coworkers to them taking their own lives. And we could prevent that. And the thing is that when you feel alignment in your body, you feel connection to yourself. And purple, when you listen to your intuition, which is also a mantra moment that I have on whygoproject.com, Merch with a Perp. That's purpose. Because these are purposeful mantras. These aren't just pretty stickers. They're not just things to stick on your laptop or your water bottle or whatever, your desk. They're ways to get back into your body, especially if you don't have any other tools in that moment. So one of the things I like to do, obviously from a grounding, not obviously to you, but from a grounding standpoint, is to ground myself. And that doesn't always work, right? Like sometimes the other day I was in a store and I was like, okay, how can I ground myself in this moment? I had shoes on. I like to keep my feet touching a surface. I like to feel where different body parts that are sitting down or that are touching different portions of what I'm sitting on. But what if you're standing? What if you're in the middle of a store and you need to figure out how to ground yourself? So I did all of that. I was like, what's touching the floor? What can I do to physically ground into my body? But the mantra moment, I always show up for myself, is the way that I was able to get through this week. And in a previous iteration of myself, I would have taken my frustration out on alcohol, which I stopped drinking. I don't know. It's hard to tell the exact date because I stopped drinking to get my body to a baseline so that I could lose weight. But I've been getting sick of drinking for years. So this is actually alcohol-free Oceano. I don't know what the actual, it's Oceano alcohol-free wines. Rachel Martin, who I met through the Female Founders Collective, actually is the founder of this. And it's honestly the best tasting wine or anything you could have on the market. It's literally from Napa Valley, and it's alcohol removed. So it doesn't taste like apple juice. And it's something that can make you feel better in the moment when you have given up drinking. And I'm not saying don't live your life, but if you decide to not drink, you could still have a substitute. And in the past, I would have just taken a bottle and gone just like this and taken a swig and gone on with the rest of my day. But now I do that with alcohol-free stuff. And I'm not normally like an alcohol like a alcohol-free substitute person. It's too many calories, but this has only 6 calories. And I think it's like 30 calories for the entire bottle. And that's why I really like all of the products that I'm going to be showcasing, all the different ways that I've been able to navigate all the addictions in my life, all the hard moments are all things that are also ways that I'm literally using. Like any of my brand partnerships that I'm already working with, I work with an alcohol-free and CBD drink as well. They also have low calories because you don't want to substitute something that's going to actually make your life harder after that, right? So you don't need to really adjust your lifestyle in a way that's not good for you. You can find different things that can actually replace those old habits. So that's what I did here. So I always show up for myself as a practice, as a mantra moment, as a daily habit. And sometimes showing up for yourself looks like standing up for yourself, and it looks like fighting back, and it looks like quote unquote losing it. But for a seed to achieve its greatest expression, it really looks like destruction from the outside world. And that's what I'm currently in. And that's what people witnessed last week across platforms and even on my live. Like I was in a survival state and I couldn't get out of it. I was having a migraine that was terrorizing my face. Like I hadn't had a migraine for 5 months, but that week, I lost a tooth from grinding my teeth. I hadn't had to get Botox in my jaw since I hadn't had a migraine for 4 months. I hadn't had to get Botox in my jaw for 5 months, and I'm getting it tomorrow, thank God. But last week after the live, how did I show up for myself? Well, I made an immediate appointment to get body work on my face because I needed to get out of pain. I was in so much pain. And while I can't really afford to do that, like everything is expensive, I couldn't afford not to do that. And that's what I struggle with these days. And that's what a lot of people struggle with too. They're like, well, I can't afford therapy, or I can't afford this healing modality. And the thing is that you may not be able to afford it, but you also can't afford not to do it, because then your life is just going to compound over and over and over until you get your body out of a state of survival. So that's what I had to do. So I made an appointment. I actually went to the Tox in the city. They do like an amazing facial body work. It's not a traditional facial. It doesn't focus on your skin. It literally focuses on the muscles in your face. It focuses on actually getting that pent up liquid that's in your face that's actually hurting, and it gets it out. It actually helps it go throughout the rest of your body, so you could actually release it through sweat, through urine, through whatever way that your body releases those fluids, because that also creates puffiness, that creates more I'm blanking on the word, more, I can't think of the word, but it's the word, it's a medical term, but it creates all of the things in your body that actually are fighting against you feeling peaceful. So when you're able to release it and get it out into your bloodstream instead of being clogged in your face, you start to feel better over time. So I did that immediately. I didn't realize how badly I was feeling until after the live last week. Like I was so sick. And because I never felt pain in my body till I was almost 40, sometimes it takes a little bit longer for me to actually like realize what's going on in my body and then how to address it. So it's called markers. What is it called? Someone helped me find with the something markers, the inflammation markers. So inflammation in your face can cause pain. Inflammation in your body causes pain. And inflammation markers are a way to see the illnesses that you could potentially expose yourself to if you don't reduce that inflammation in your body. And inflammation comes from stress, and stress comes in many forms, whether it's physical, mental, environmental, or epigenetic, meaning it lives in your body and becomes pronounced through environmental factors. So last week, my migraine was just overwhelming. I was in so much pain. I had to get my face worked on. And I used to always joke that, I not joke, but like in my house growing up, I was like, my face hurts. And my mom would joke and say like, it's killing me, like joking. And that's how we got through it, right? We're entertainers, in dysfunctional families or anywhere else in any part of society. We make jokes to get through things, to get through hardships. So that's what I'm always going to bring here, is some levity with some realistic experiences, because you got to laugh with what's going on. But I went there last week, and I bought this cupping set before last week that actually helps my face feel better. And it helped get the tension out of my body, like almost immediately. Like I still felt the migraine hangover for many days, like up until it was Thursday. So probably until all day Friday, and like Saturday morning, I felt better. But I also got this other device that helps move liquid and fluids out of your face as well. So these are things that I'm using currently to actually make my body feel better. There are things that I would have said in the past I can't afford, and I can't afford to live on this planet right now. Like I haven't had regular income since June of 23. But what I also can't afford to do is not address these issues, because if I don't address these issues properly, they're just going to continue and compound. And I had a month-long migraine in December of 2022. And I didn't know it. I didn't understand how to feel pain. I gained weight on the Ozempics of the world at that same time because my receptors were blocked with trauma. I couldn't get into my body. It didn't matter what healing practices I did, how much therapy I had no ability to get into my body. But now that I know what a baseline feels like, now that I know what pain feels like, not just by, the absence of pain, but actually like what the level of pain feels like, when I really need to get the help and when I could, do things on my own. That's how I make those decisions. I let my body inform all of my decisions, whether it's a relationship romantically, whether it's a friendship, a relationship, whether it's a professional relationship, whether it's with family and anything else. Any other thing that I do every day is informed by my body. And it doesn't make me better. It doesn't make me good. It doesn't make the other people bad. It just makes me more aligned, and it makes me embodied. And that's what I want to share here, because nervous system regulation, embodiment, being in your body, being able to feel sensation and then make decisions on it and change how you live your life so you can actually affect results, and neuroplasticity, the ability to build new neural pathways, all play into how you could change your life. Biohack and embodied comeback isn't just a tagline. It's truly what I've been living. And sometimes you are going to have those slides. Like that's what it's called, vagile, the ability to traverse an activated state of dysregulation, of anger, of sadness, of pure unadulterated rage, of helplessness, of being terrified. Like any of those things that disrupt your peace, you could traverse that and actually go back to a baseline of rest and digest. And that's what the Trauma Translator is here to do. I'm going to be talking with different people who have experienced life-altering, transformative stories, different people that are helping others connect with themselves and others, entrepreneurs, innovators, all subject matter experts, tastemakers, everybody, sobriety. It's all aligned, right? Because we're all human. So this week I had to find all different ways to get back into my body. And the things that have been working recently just didn't work. It didn't matter how many yoga classes I went to, how many sound baths I went to, how the different ways I moved my body. I needed something to force me back in. And I asked for help, and I did. I got some help. I also got an emergency therapy appointment. I called my therapist, and I was like, I didn't call her. I texted her, and I was like, I need help. And we had an appointment, and it allowed me to remember that I needed to not be angry anymore. And I needed to, go about life with softness. The universe rewards softness, not rage. And that's, one of the things that got me out of my body. It also got me back into my breath. Like breath work isn't just a term that people throw around. Like I truly am, like, I'm embodying that. The Camuso shift necklace actually helps you regain breath back in your body. It reminds you to breathe. Like even if you're not using it in the moment, just wearing this, which I sometimes forget to put back on when I get undressed and I wear comfy clothes around the house, but I need to wear it, right? Because it reminds me to breathe. So I'm also going to show you how to use this. They are one of my affiliate partners. I've been using this since the summer of 2022, where I found it at my trauma retreat on-site workshops. It was absolutely awesome and transformative. And I never would have been able, despite my trauma therapy, my EMDR work, which is, the ways that you're able to remove the charge from those traumatic memories out of your body and actually like still have them. They don't delete your memories, but the charge isn't within your body any longer. Those things are great, but I needed something else. And at first I was resistant to it because I was like, I can't afford this. And I was working at the time, but everything is expensive. So I want to help eliminate the barriers to entry for people to getting this education, because I'm not a therapist. I'm not trying to be, but I have been able to get through everything in life by myself while people are working against me forever. And now I learned the lesson is that I'm never going to be in this position again. I am going to stabilize my life because I always show up for myself, and you can too. So let's talk about how you would use the Camuso shift necklace to get back into your body, to regain a level of stability, regain a level of sanity. So you're not like an insane person, because I felt absolutely crazy. Like, this is why it's crime prevention. This is why it's suicide prevention. This is why it's literally the panacea for society. And when you can get back into your breath and get back into your body, that just stabilizes everything. It decreases your heart rate. It actually lowers your blood pressure. It actually creates space in your brain to have coherent thoughts. It creates coherence in your mind body. And mind body is connected. It's not just what you eat or how you move. It's everything you consume. It's the people you're around. I didn't realize that the people I was around were actually activating my body, because I never was in my body. I didn't know how much they were hurting me until I had the ability to feel hurt, right? So I've lost many relationships, but I've also gained a beautiful sense of self and a beautiful sense of alignment and connection. And, it's a practice. It's a constant management of self. Like I said, some days are better than others. I'm not perfect. That's not the goal of this. But the goal is to be able to get back to a regulated state, so you don't like go on a mass shooting, and you don't ruin other people's lives. And so using the Camuso shift, I like to work with a 4-4-8 breath. So what does that mean? It means 4 seconds in, breathing 4 seconds in, holding for 4 seconds, and then exhaling for 8 seconds. Because the longer you exhale, that actually helps your body to get back into a parasympathetic state, a rest and digest state. So I'm going to do it right now. And if you'd like, you could find this on Collabs Wellness on whygoproject.com. We'll also put links in the comments here for all the products that I'm going to be talking about that I have partnerships with, and maybe the things in the future that I'll have partnerships with. But this is what I did even during my therapy session earlier in the week, because I really needed help getting back into my body and getting out of rage. And it's good to ask for help. I never asked for help my entire life. And this is what got me to this really dangerous position where this is really living my nightmare. And if I could live my nightmare and not take my life and not go absolutely insane like my entire family has, then I think that I'm winning. And you can too. You don't have to live with the genetic dispositions that you believe your family has. You could reverse those genetic illnesses. You could reverse the ADD and the OCDs and the autoimmune diseases and the cancers of the world. And anyway, so let's do a 4-4-8 breath with the Camuso shift necklace. So I'm going to inhale for 4. So the goal here is to exhale for as long as possible. And when you're able to hold that breath, it makes the exhale actually even more effective. And that type of breath, the 4-4-8, is really good for getting you back to a state. It's not going to be the only solution that you could use, but it's one of the How Are You Healing habits. It's one of a billions, right? Because you have to do all these different things. Your body is like a computer. It's the original AI, and it doesn't just change like that. Like, it's a practice over and over. So when you have the ability to exhale with this necklace, the idea is to not have it whistle. The idea is to do it slow enough that it doesn't make a sound. And that's what I've had to do over the last few days, years, life. And if you want to buy it, it's 15% off on whygoproject.com/collabs. I'll be adding the link to the comments here. But the whole thing here is how are you going to get through these tough moments? There's tough moments for everything. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a major traumatic event like losing a job, a car accident, or a divorce. It could just be everyday life. How are we going to get through traffic, right? Without losing our shit? How are we going to get through conversations at work with people that annoy us and, on topics that we can't control and that activate our body? And the whole idea is connection to yourself and connection with others and connection to a higher power, as I knock off my hat. And the reason that I'm sharing all these things and the merch with the perp was actually part of my own ways that I was getting through really hard times before I had any support, before I found healing from trauma, before I found my therapist, before I was being diagnosed with adrenal fatigue and complex trauma. I had to find ways to get through each day. And in the summer of 2020 and 2021, it was absolutely brutal. So I started putting stickers in 2019, which was also a really hard year, on my original Mantra Moment bottle that reminded me of my strength. And I would look at them and say, you can do this. You can get through this day. This was my attachment to, this was my support, was this water bottle. People have called it my emotional support water bottle, which it was. And it can be. It's not shameful. It's truly something that can help you get through the moment. And sometimes you need those things. If you don't feel like you have the support that you need, I'm all for using these mantra moments to get you to a place where you can then ask for support, because asking for the support matters. Having the ability to vocalize your needs matters. Having those conversations that hurt your body matters, because guess what? You're going to find peace after that. And it might not be immediately, but you're going to feel a sense of relief. When you breathe, it feels a sense of relief. When you're able to find something to just get through that moment, it provides a sense of relief. And that's truly what integration is. It's being able to integrate these different habits into your lifestyle in a way that works for you. So case in point, like when you want to lose weight, I've lost weight multiple times in my life, and people are always like, oh my God, how'd you do it? And what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. I'm very restrictive. I'm very disciplined. Even though I was almost 300 pounds multiple times, it wasn't from a lack of discipline. I have the most discipline. What I don't have, or what I didn't have previously, was balance. And I found balance. I stopped drinking. I realized my issue was sex and love. I will be doing an after dark about that. But the thing is that any addiction is an addiction. So when you find a way to get through those moments through healthy coping mechanisms that would have actually ended up destroying your life if you hadn't found a way to get through them. That's why I am doing all this, because I want people to find ways to get through those hard moments and find a way that works for them. When for all those years that I was trying to lose weight before I found all of my How Are You Healing practices and my trauma therapy and all of the other things I've been doing, I always reverted to things that I used to think made me feel good. And I reverted back to those old habits. And when you have the ability to change those habits, you could change your whole life. And the mantra moments were just the first way that I was able to get into my body. And, there's a lot of them on the Merch with a Perks shop. But the reason that it even exists is because I use these things, these mantras, to actually get through those moments. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I just knew that I needed something. I didn't even consider that the only people I had to give me support, or the only things, were inanimate objects. And that's one of the reasons why I started to ask for help. And you can too. That's why I have this strategic consulting. I want people to get help. I want to be able to connect them with the right resources. I want to be able to help other entrepreneurs promote their businesses that are helping others. And asking for help is the first way that you could do this. So these mantra bottles, these mantra moments, the stickers, this hat, the reason all the hats behind me, it all has to do with getting through those moments. How are you going to get through that moment? So some things will resonate with you, some things won't. But it's the same as losing weight. Unless you're ready, you're never going to be able to affect change for yourself, because you need to want it more than anybody else. So the Weight Watchers of the world, I'd been doing that since high school, and I was thin in high school. I was around the same size I am now, but I used to think I was fat, by comparison, but I was athletic, and I didn't realize it at the time, but I could have used it to lose 10 pounds at one point. And my mom took me to Weight Watchers, but Weight Watchers made me angry. It felt like I had to do another piece of work. It felt like a punishment. The same way that, being diagnosed with complex PTSD, which I like to call PTSR because it's a response, not a disorder. It's literally your body's response to stress that overwhelms you. And the way I think about that felt like offensive to me. It felt cumbersome. It felt like, oh my God, I already just got through all of these things. And now I have, another thing that I have to deal with that I didn't choose. I was born into this. And then all of the decisions that I made were based on my dysregulated nervous system. So I kept going back for more and more and more when I could have just left before it got this dangerous. So I want to help people understand, regain power, regain your sense of agency so that you can make decisions for your life. And the best way that I have found has been doing it when you're ready, because nothing can ever happen unless you're ready. I've tried so many diets, so many different things. And when I was ready, I did things that worked for me. I did A/B testing. I like to A/B test. I believe in that in my professional life. I've always done that my whole existence. And I like to A/B test my real life. So I started trying different things that would work for my body when I wanted to lose weight. And for me, not working with a calorie limit, not working with writing everything down, no points, felt really restrictive. I couldn't add another thing to do for my day. But the only thing I've ever been able to feel in my body, which is insane, but really speaks to this journey, is how much weight I was gaining and how, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Layla. And thank you, Reviting. And thank you, Jesse. And thank you, everybody. Like, this has been so hard and they've been so wonderful and supportive. Like, I'm like, hey, I'm going to get you these deliverables by this day. And then I missed the date. Not because I'm not disciplined, not because I don't have the ability to execute the things I commit to. It's quite the opposite. It's literally like I'm in a survival state and I need to figure out how I'm going to continue to pay for these things, or how I'm going to continue to do this, or even like live with everything that has transpired, because no one has ever had any accountability in my life. And it has left me feeling helpless and alone, which is why I don't want anyone else to ever feel this way again. It's been so brutal. And oh yes, please eat. That affects your blood sugar. Please eat. And drink water with electrolytes. Electrolytes matter. Getting that sodium back into your body. Salt used to get a bad rap. It's actually wonderful for you. It helps you feel sane. That's what lithium is. It's salt. That's what my dad used to be on. It's not just a channel on XM. But the thing is that when you have the ability to get into your body, have a sense of purpose, have a sense of alignment, have a sense of self, feel good in your body, even if everything else in your life is not going good around you, even if you don't even feel attractive, you could still feel good in your body enough to speak your truth. And when you speak your truth, you then can be able to affect change in your life. And that's one of the reasons why I'm wearing this purple color. It's for listen to your intuition, the 50 shades of blue, speaking your truth, not living in shame, but also the mantra moments. It gets you back into your body. Like, people that used to hurt my feelings, or things in like not getting, moved forward in an interview, or whatever that looked like, things I used to internalize were other people's own perceptions, limitations, capacity issues. They weren't my things to internalize. So I used to take those things and my body would feel really bad, but I didn't know how to listen to it. So now when I have those moments that used to send me into a state of dysregulation, because I'm not bracing any longer. We talked about triggers a few weeks ago with Jesse. Because I'm not bracing, I'm living in a state of flow, a flow state, right? I'm not trying to brace for danger. I'm trying to or anticipate, right? It's about having the ability to actually traverse those hard things. I'm now using those mantra moments to remind me of my power. And sometimes you need a lot of mantra moments, like people who can't show up for themselves can't show up for you. Hurt people, but also healing people help people heal. So we could also reframe those things, because when you have the ability to reframe your reality, you could transform your life. And like I said, this isn't a perfect science. It's the art and science of connection. It's A/B testing. It's understanding what feels good in your body. I used to, I did A/B tests with, like, when I ate dairy in 2013, I realized that made me gain weight. When I ate legumes, made me gain weight. But if I ate something that was like sugar, not gaining weight. If I had French fry, not gaining weight. But if I have rice, my body gains weight. And if you think about also like genetically where your family is from, my family is German. My mom literally was first generation here, escaping the Holocaust. So like my body responds better to potatoes than it does to rice or things that the Middle Eastern culture eats. It's just my genetic makeup. So that's kind of how I think of healing too, is find something that you can do on a regular basis and then add on to it. Because I tried to do so much at once that it made me feel like a failure, which was the opposite of my original intention. And when you do things with intention, I used to think I was doing things with intention, but I was doing things strategically. And now I do things intentionally. I was doing things compulsively. Like I was going to the gym compulsively. Now I do things with alignment and with a broader understanding of my capacity. Can I handle this? Do I need help? Like, how can I get help? And the only way you could do that is being able to get back into your body and out of your head, because your head will tell you the worst things. Your mind is literally always out looking for danger, because your body wants to feel safe. That's what, money doesn't make you happy, but money makes you safe. So when you could provide safety for yourself, like job security, that's safety. Providing money, safety. Providing a safe environment, not putting yourself back into those situations that made you feel like, and got you sick and made you feel bad, and changing how you react to them when that opportunity comes up. And it doesn't always look like a regulated state. Like over the last week, I was presented with many opportunities to revert back to the same things that got me into this point. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it hurt. It made my body sick. But guess what? I also found ways to get out of it. And it all required connection with others. You can't do this by yourself. You have to be witnessed, even in like the simplest way possible. Like just having a witness, someone to share to have a shared reality with you changes everything. I feel like a boomer, honestly. I've been having the most amount of tech problems with my phone since April. I've been having Wi-Fi issues, even though I've been living here for like 6 years and brought like since 2018 in this building. I've been having problems with my Gmail. I've had Gmail problems for I don't know how long. I just noticed it on December 31st, but I literally, even with my Gmail that I've had since 2004, it's not working. It's getting bounce backs. And I was the only person that received those bounce backs for a while. I was the only person that wasn't able to send those attachments. And even without an attachment, I was getting bounce backs across my YGO, Lauren at YGOproject.com, and my original email from 2004. And I felt absolutely insane because like I don't know how to get help on it. Like you can't just call Google and be like, hey, help me with my Gmail. And luckily, I mean, not luckily, but I was very fortunate to have a friend of mine. Thank God, she was so kind. She referred me to her company this week, and she wrote me the most beautiful recommendation ever. Like truly, like I'm so fortunate for meeting people that have been able to show up for me in ways that I could never have imagined. I'm so grateful. And I also like reciprocity. Like I want to provide that in turn to you as well, because I like to help people that have helped me. That's the whole point of the How Are You Healing global ecosystem and How Are You Healing resource hub. So this week when she was referring me to her company, she's like, I'm getting bounce backs out of both of your emails. And I was like, that's so annoying. But I was like, thank God, because someone else could witness what I'm dealing with. Like, I was like, I don't know how to fix any of these things. I can't be responsible for every single problem in life. And like, it's really hard as an entrepreneur or as somebody who's been thrown into entrepreneurship. Like my dream was to just have a stable life, have insurance, make a lot of money and help a lot of people. That's always been my dream. And when I was thrown into this, I have to then solve every other problem. I don't have an IT desk to call, right? So when other people can witness, right, you could get connection. You could also feel a way to you could also find a way to move out of that dysregulated state, of that state of rage, of deep sadness, of hopelessness. And oftentimes we get stuck in those states because we're not aware enough. We don't have that consciousness. But you don't have to judge yourself for it. Like I wasn't angry at myself for what happened last week. I'm really not. I would have felt deep shame. It would have sent me into this shame spiral. What I am really proud of myself for is I always show up for myself, and so can you. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much for joining us this week. I'm going to be having a guest on next week that focuses on helping men. And I also have been doing some men consulting as well. So if you want to book a session, go to YGOproject.com. It's book How Are You Healing intro call. It's right on the homepage. You can also book me as a trauma translator. You could shop merch with a perp. That's merch with a purpose, healing-centered anxiety relief tools and products, with a portion of the proceeds funding the pediatric complex trauma nonprofit, YGO Foundation. Also just it's overall complex trauma nonprofit that I am going to be scaling. And right now I am working with synergistic nonprofits that I already was working with and taking those monies that I would be putting aside for my foundation to those organizations. So you find all of that on the website. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you learned something new that can help you get through the day. That's my goal, is learn, unlearn, educate, empower, elevate, because we all need to find a way to connect with ourselves so we can connect with others. And we just need to find a way out. And it's really hard to do. And also it's a lot harder when people are Richard. So don't be a Richard is one of the reasons why I started the merch with a perp. I was just wearing it. People wanted to buy it. So if you want to buy any of the slogans, I'll be adding more each day. Please go to the site and please feel free to book a session. I'm not doing this here to just hear myself talk. I'm doing this to help humanity. Humanity is in need of help. And I have a lot of experiences that can help others. So please join us next week. Thank you so much. And how are you healing?